Coming to you live from my apartment, it's Rob Has a Podcast. And now here's a guy who never forgets his bag with recording equipment. I am Rob Cesternino. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Rob Has a Podcast. It's the feedback show, the last word in Survivor podcasting for episode number 7. We're going to close out this very twisty week of Survivor with a woman who got a big twist last night when she was ready to cover the Love is a Blind reunion show with Asia Welch. It's Frail Mary. Mary, how are you? Mary Kwiatkowski.
Survivor, not the hottest mess on TV this week.
No. Okay. Mary, so excited to have you back to talk some Survivor feedback here today on Monday night, as we are going to answer a bunch of questions, get into some other things from throughout the week. Had a lot of fun talking with Christian Hubicki the other night. People gave me some nice feedback about that conversation with Christian. I also listened to the RHAP Survivor shows, which in addition to Why Blank Lost, we had the crossover episode of Taryn and Shannon together on one podcast. We had my friend and neighbor, the great Jesse Lopez, on with Bryce on the Survivor News edition of the Purple Pants podcast. And then Peridium joined Liana and Puya on the B&B. So fun shows all around this weekend. And lots of I've heard all the takes from across the Survivor internet.
Yeah, you've heard all of them, but have you heard the potential take that it's all fake and it's happening in the Matrix and nothing is real and they're not really playing Survivor?
Interesting. Is that a popular take?
No, not at all. I just tried to think of something different that you might not have heard.
Yeah. I mean, we can explore that certainly, because I think that there's, it's as valid as a lot of the other takes that I see about Survivor. But Mary, how are you doing last night? Because can you give us the update for the uninitiated? Because this has been like a big news story. You and Asia were ready to with and our friend Omer Zahir was going to be with you, right?
Yep. Mari and Omer. So
Mari and Omer, last week's feedback show guest. Yes.
Classic Survivor and Love is Blind crossover that everyone's looking for. And yeah, we were all gearing up. I think, I don't know if this was the first time ever that Netflix was trying to do like a live premiere episode that was being presumably filmed and aired live for everyone to watch.
Well, just the Nothing But Netflix crossover of it all. That a couple of weeks ago, Chappelle and I podcast about the Chris Rock special, which was supposedly Netflix's first like live stream.
Okay, and was that one on time?
It was on time. Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know what happened this time, but yeah, everyone, I mean, we started getting Instagram lives and tweets and posts from the people supposedly who were just sitting on set waiting for this to go live because we were told 15 minutes late. And then we were told, don't worry, it's coming. And then we were told, actually, it's not going to be coming at all, even though weirdly it did premiere live eventually about an hour and 15 minutes late for some people. I was able to watch it, but not everyone was. So very unclear what happened.
And what happened, Mary? Do we know?
We have no idea. They have not said, but I guess everybody who wasn't able to watch it live was able to watch it today. But Twitter was on fire last night. And so was almost every single brand account for any company that I could think of. At first, you had the classic like Blockbuster tweeting that they would never do this to us. Redbox.
Wait, does Blockbuster have an account? Why? For what?
I don't know, but it to come at Netflix, I guess. And let's see, Hulu, Peacock, I saw tweeting, and then I just saw a whole bunch of other ones. Like McDonald's was saying, like, just run out. You've got plenty of time to go through a drive-through. I just thought it was great that how everyone was getting involved, at least on Twitter, of making fun of Netflix. So eventually some people got it, but never fear, for all of you who wanted to watch us podcasting live, you'll at least get the coverage soon. I think we're going to be recording tomorrow, so you'll be getting it tomorrow night.
Okay. All right. So, Mary, the reason why I wanted to get into the Love is Blind of it all is because now Love is Blind, very popular show, they have a live reunion show. They're like, hey, we know people want to get the updates from these people. Let's do a reunion show. Survivor says, you saw it, everything. Well, look, we're gonna do a reunion in Fiji. Of course, Survivor famously for a very long time had a reunion show, but could this potentially, like the hype around this, and I know that technologically it was a fail, but people in glass houses, Mary, I can't even say anything. But isn't this the biggest no-brainer in the world? Why don't they stream the Survivor reunion show on Paramount Plus?
Yeah, they could. I mean, so the beauty of what they're doing with Love is Blind now is for the past 3 seasons, what we had was a reunion show that took place that they filmed part of the way through the airing, and then they showed at the end. So
Yeah.
the people on the show had at that point only watched the first half of the season. So it would be like if everyone, the way that the Survivor reunion used to work is they would come home, watch the whole
Mhm.
show live with everyone, and then do it. And I can understand if they don't want to go back to like the giant audience, but get everybody in a studio somewhere and then premiere it live. But I think the most important thing and the biggest thing that we want from the Survivor reunion is just give them a chance to go home and watch the show so that we're not just asking them, hey, how do you feel right now in this one instant? And instead actually getting some reflection on the game.
Yeah, just logistically, I am just not sure if I know they filmed the seasons back to back, so I'm not sure if Jeff and company come back from Fiji long enough to do a reunion show in Los Angeles or whatever. I'd take it on Zoom.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I would too. I think most people would. I mean that and that worked pretty well the one time they did it, so they could.
Hmm.
Um, but there's a lot of things that it's like they've got the Paramount Plus platform. Why aren't they using that to show lots of things that they don't?
They don't
Like
do
I think
anything with
so many people would
Paramount
watch
Plus.
full challenges, like full unedited
Hmm.
challenges, especially endurance ones. I think that would
Yeah.
be great. There's a lot they could be doing. They're just not.
Not doing it. Okay. All right, Mary. So let's talk a little bit about this week's episode. And boy, I did feel like that this week was a breaking point for seemingly a lot of folks. I went back and I watched the episode again. And again, I have said that I felt like the biggest issue with this episode was just the branding around
Mhm.
everything, where if they called things like, all right, this week we are we're gonna split you into 2 tribes this week. But instead, Jeff was like, "All right, so there's a twist, and then a twist, and then a twist." And I just feel like that it was like a turducken of twists that they seemingly threw at us, even though nothing was super anything that they've never done before, save for maybe the control of vote, which there has been other iterations of that in past seasons. What was your reaction to all this week?
So I want to come back to the control of vote thing because that's the thing I have more thoughts on in a moment. But I agree with you and what you had said in the know it alls, which is we've done this before. We've done this in Survivor Heroes versus Villains. We've done the 2 tribe challenge where whoever, wins it for their tribe, wins immunity for their tribe and also food. We've seen it where both tribes go to vote separately and then one of them gets food. So really the only difference here was that you got food and then you got to watch without having to vote anyone out. And then the other big part here was and you don't get to go discuss the vote with the people who lose. And I think the reason obviously they did that was because otherwise it would be almost identical to the previous week to the to the
Mhm.
fake merge, right? If they just all went back together.
Right.
So they needed to throw that twist in. None of those things bothered me too much. I know that that's like a hot take. I think it's annoying to say that we've merged and then rewind it, but we've done that before.
Mhm.
Um, so it doesn't bother me as a twist if we're in the era of Survivor that we know there's just going to be twists. If you want old school Survivor, go watch old school Survivor. It's out there, and then the reason I say this is not because I think that this is better for the show. I think it's the only thing I can do to sort of keep myself positive and happy while watching it.
You got
So,
to. You need some cognitive dissonance, I do believe. And I'll tell you why I am, a little bit bullish on the rest of the season and I've mentioned this on the other shows where I've been very happy that if they were going to do the split tribe twist, and who knows, like if Bruce and Matthew didn't get medevaced, maybe instead of, because, at different points in the history of the show, sometimes Jeff has been like, no, every decision is made ahead of time. And other times I think that like he's sort of like, well, we had to sort of like adapt on the fly. But I think that there is another version of the season where Matthew didn't go home and Bruce did. Like we've had two medevacs so far, so we're behind a person. And I do think that in another universe that this could have just been at 12 with two tribes of 6. We merged at 13, and then have two tribes of 6 where at the final 12 we did a split tribe twist and both tribes go to tribal council.
Or even when I was first watching it, I thought similarly, oh, maybe because of the medevacs, this is just a tribe challenge that got moved, but was originally going to be in a tribe portion of the game. I know we weren't in 2 tribes, so I thought maybe they would have somehow merged to 2, or and then done that. That would have been probably more unlikely, just because we haven't seen this swap from 3 to 2 in this new era. But I think it was possible, or like you said, just sort of what they've done in the past couple seasons, where they do the split tribal eventually in the merge.
And we've never done it at 12, that we've always done it at either 10 or 11. I think it's possible.
12's better, so.
12 would have been interesting, I think, to have, if they were going to do that, I think it's interesting to have done it at 12, because my biggest complaint had been that they do it at 10 and we lose the final 10 and the final 9 vote. And Mary, I've looked ahead on the calendar with the finale coming up on May 24th. I believe that we have 5 regular episodes the rest of the way between now and presumably the finale, which would be a final 5, which means that we should see a regular episode. And again, it's a twisty show, but like we should see a normal final 10, final 9, final 8, final 7, final 6 vote. And really, I know that like we're like damning with faint praise, but this is a blessing as a Survivor fan to have potentially 5 normal weeks queued up here where we're going to see the post-merge play out.
Now, I don't know if I would get that that excited.
Don't count your chickens before they hatch, everybody.
I don't know about that, but it's interesting. I wasn't able to watch the episode live, but I had seen a little bit, without being completely spoiled, I had seen a little bit of the internet saying, oh my gosh, Survivor's ruined. This is the worst. Etc. And so I watched the episode from this perspective of sitting there waiting. Okay, when's the thing going to happen? What's going to happen?
Yeah.
What's so bad? And when we got to the challenge, I thought, okay, well, they've done this before, more or less. I mean, it's slightly different, but like you said, the branding was off, but the concept had been done before. And I actually thought that the thing people were mad about was the control a vote twist. And so that was the thing that I got to, and I was like, oh yeah, I could see why people are so mad at this, because fundamentally I do agree with the concept that you should be able to combat any kind of twist or advantage with good gameplay. I would hope that eventually you could get, if somebody has an idol and they haven't told anybody and the vote is unanimous towards that person, and you go home because someone plays an idol, then you should have combated that by splitting the vote, right? Like there should be a way out of anything. And the one thing I didn't like about this was, unlike just a normal steal a vote, this is a person taking someone else's vote, controlling someone's vote, and you never had a chance to talk to them to try to convince them to do something different, whether or not you knew that they had that advantage or not. So that was the one thing I didn't like, was that the vote was being controlled by someone who didn't have any ability to converse with you in the first place. Although I think if you're allowed to do that, you should definitely be allowed to. The people sitting on the bench on the side with the control vote should be allowed to play an idol on anybody who's sitting on the other side. If you can do one advantage, I think you should be able to do any. So if that's the case and you could play an idol, then I'm a little better on it. But that was the one thing that I thought was, that was the part I was more annoyed with, rather than the splitting of the tribe.
Sure. Look, this is not a podcast to defend the twist. The twist is not on trial. You are. That's what War Dog once said. But that I do think that to say that, Matt was, had played a perfect game and got a completely, he got a bad hand, but that does happen in Survivor. And I think that we'll talk about some things in this conversation that point to some things that Matt did not get right along the
Mhm.
way that ultimately got him into this very untenable position in the game. And so I'm looking forward to getting into that here today. Let me bring in a voicemail. This is the feedback show. We'd love to get your feedback every week. robisawebsite.com/voicemail. And so let's go ahead and bring one in terms of like how we got these teams. Of course, it was a random draw, but Rob from West Palm has a question for us that maybe it could have gone differently.
Hey, Rob, this is Rob. Wondering if you think a schoolyard pick might make this twist a little more palatable to the fandom and maybe to the players themselves. To me, it would give the players a little more agency in what tribe they ended up on. You got Matt, who just spent about 14 days making bonds with Franny and Danny and Heidi, only to then not even have them available to help him survive this tribal council. So I feel like a schoolyard pick definitely makes this twist a little more fair and also more interesting to see, who picks who, and it kind of reveals people's alliances and would maybe lead to some TV that's interesting. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts. Bye.
Okay, Mary. Would a schoolyard pick have helped this at all?
In general, I say giving the players the ability to make decisions is preferable both for TV and for gameplay. It allows the person like Matt to, it allows you to rely on your social bonds to help you out in this kind of scenario. I think the one time I like the random pick is the traditional tribe swap being
Mm-hmm.
done by a random thing, just because that's supposed to be more random. I think if I had to guess from the producer's point of view, the reason that they're doing random here is because they want it to be chaos, chaos, chaos. You can't predict anything. You can't, like that's kind of what we've talked about, right? Like in a world where the game used to be about playing against the other players, the game is now about playing against the game. And so the game is throwing something at you that you have no way of dealing with, and you just have to hope that your social bonds were there to fit any number of people. I mean, Matt
Mm-hmm.
said in the exit interview, right, that any other combination that he probably would have been better off. Then I guess to that, if you're still feeling like anybody could get out of any situation, you have to say, well, Matt, you didn't try hard enough because you left open a scenario where where you weren't going to be good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
which is probably made worse by the fact that we have the small tribes that stay together until practically the merge. I know there was technically that tiny little swap, but there's just so many people you might not have a chance to have talked to.
So, yeah, Mary, I would love to get your take to answer this question in particular. And this really segues nicely into something I want to talk to you anyway about today. Was that I know that during the summer, you're one of the top Big Brother reporters out there on these streets watching the live feeds. And Mary, we need to look no further back than the Big Brother 24 house to wonder whether or not this is more fair. And it's very interesting. Like, I feel like that I've seen a little bit on Twitter, but I didn't really hear anything on, big discussions on the podcasts this week comparing this twist with Dire Fest,
Yep.
which we just saw in Big Brother 24. And for the uninitiated, I believe it was at the final 10 in Big Brother 24. They did a split house twist where they had half the house go live outside in the backyard and the other half was isolated in the house. They had separate HOHs and separate final 5 evictions. And the teams, I believe that it was the top 2 people that finished in the HOH competition. After the competition was over, they drafted their teams. And from what I recall, Mary, do you remember the Big Brother fan base talking about, boy, this was very fair that they had they did this in a very fair way.
Rob,
The schoolyard pick It's
You
all good.
you cannot expect us reality TV viewers to be consistent and fair with our takes. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
I was trying to look back at this. I mean, so part of it there is right, like how would a schoolyard pick have worked in Survivor? Would there have been two people who were nominated? Would there have been a challenge where the two winners get to? How do you determine who are the captains?
Yeah. So I think that how they would do it on Survivor and on Big Brother, they did the top two finishers in the HOH competition, then got to pick the people that they were going to live with for the week. I think that what would normally happen on Survivor is they would do the bag of rocks. Two people would get rocks. Those are our captains. And I think people would probably and it might have been an interesting strategic decision to see that you would probably have to weigh who do I think will win immunity for my group versus who are my allies that I want to keep in the fold in case we end up going to a tribal council. So would you sort of like try to load up on the challenge beasts or would you load up on your allies in case you go to a tribal council?
Yeah. And if everyone can just take a second to remember the Big Brother example, the situation there wasn't that someone got massively screwed over because their alliance wasn't with them. Their alliance was with them. They just then flipped on their alliance with certain
Hmm.
people. So,
Yes.
that's not really what happened. Plus, the things in Big Brother are a little different. You have to have two people up for nomination, so it's a little different.
But there are like similarities
Oh
between,
yeah, for sure.
ultimately where spoiler alert, Big Brother 24, where Joseph ends up going out in that spot, also a guy who's sort of in a pseudo showmance, which became a romance after the show is over, as opposed to Matt and Franny, who are more of a like active couple
Mhm.
in terms of like what was going on where with Taylor and Joseph it's just like a little bit of like maybe like a flirtmance in the house and not even anything that was like they were an actual
Well,
couple.
and what happened in Big Brother when they did that was that the picks were made, almost the first picks were on each side, what ended up being the person that I want to put on my tribe to be the one to be voted out. I'm going to pick
Hmm.
someone intentionally to go on my group that I know it will be easy to get everyone else to vote out. So I think we probably see a similar type of thing in the Survivor of, okay, I want to put some people on my team who will work with me. I want to have more people who will work with me and fewer who won't. But I need to at least have someone who I think can go.
Yeah.
Um, you don't want to just put all of your, and then you also don't want to leave someone like Matt. You don't want to leave your ally just stranded on the other side.
And the other thing that I wanted to bring into this from the Big Brother example is, I made a burning question video, which, if people are not familiar with what that is, I basically had this season have started doing a deep dive into one specific topic that sort of comes out of the episode. And I made a 30-minute video and podcast all about the ways that Survivor players can survive this twist when they get thrown into it. And ultimately, I felt like that Jam Jam and Matt were both in a very bad spot coming into this. Ultimately, I feel like that Jam Jam was the one who played the better round of Survivor. And while like Matt might have just been too juicy of a target, Jam Jam played really, really well. And I think that Jam Jam did a better job of selling out Matt than Matt was able
Mhm.
to do to Jam Jam. And I do feel like that going back to the Dire Fest scenario, like I think when you're in this spot, Mary, I think it's basically that um start throwing people under the bus because you got to get through this vote. Like if it's looking bleak, it's time to like pull out all the stops. And this is not a podcast that ever tells you be like Kyle, but so you got to get through the round of five.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's what I would do if I was there. I mean, I'd like to think if I was in this situation that I would uh just magically be able to get people onto my side.
Mhm.
Um but if you think that that's not happening, yeah, you need to be in self-preservation mode 100%. Um and I wonder if potentially Jam Jam had some, intentional or not, did it help that he just happened to be on the smaller tribe in the smaller group, the less juicy target to begin with. Even if they're both selling each other out, like Matt's got the harder battle there probably, but it, at least from what we saw, it seemed like he was at least probably in the back of his mind hoping that maybe his bag would be brought to him, and
Mhm.
concentrating more on that rather than really really going for the gold here.
I just feel like that for Jam Jam also, that he had been on the bottom for these last couple of votes really since Sarah had gotten voted out, and he's had been like fighting for his life and fighting tooth and nail to stay in the game. And then here comes Matt, who's coming from a relatively safe position in the game, and all of a sudden in an afternoon for him to sort of say like, oh my god, this is horrible, I'm at the bottom, I need to go from like, sort of like cruising to scrambling. For
Mhm.
Jam Jam, like he didn't have to shift gears so much, so Jam Jam could go right to work on trying to do everything in his power to try to stay.
Right, and he had the benefit of also saying, "Hey, my name's already been out there. You can get me whenever you want. Now's
Mhm.
the time to get Matt when no one else is gonna fight you on it."
Right. And Jam Jam, I just thought in this episode, Mary it was just such a showcase of his amazing social game coming from the tribal council in the previous episode. That this is a clip that just really cracked me up from Jam Jam after
Just
tribal.
because nobody is like saying anything, just in case you feel like it's gonna be awkward. It is.
I just, hey, just in case you think that there's not going to be any complaints about if it's not going to be a podcast where we complain about Survivor.
It is.
Yeah, that's great. And I think more people need to do that in real life, right? Like, let people know how you feel, but it doesn't need to be an awkward conversation. If you turn it into a joke, you at least get them going, I think they are maybe a little upset, but they said it so
Kidding, not
nicely that I'm
kidding.
not really
Yeah.
mad about it.
Yeah. Jam Jam was really amazing in this episode all around. Okay. Mary, you mentioned about Matt wanting his bag. Okay. I wanted to talk to you about some of the controversy about this ruling about
Mhm.
Matt's bag. Now, first off, let me get your feelings on this.
Yeah, I left my house once to go on a trip for a whole
Yeah.
weekend and completely forgot my purse, my bag. I just grabbed my keys that were on the counter and left, drove away, and it wasn't until much later that I realized I didn't have that with me. It ended up being okay. My mom had to spot me some money for gas, but besides that, everything was fine. So you know what? Sometimes in life, you just don't get your bag. No, I think that this rule seemed to be something that was like I don't know from being out there. You can tell me. When you were on Survivor, did they tell you like if you ever think you're gonna need something from your bag, take it with you at all times?
Mary, what was I going to need for my bag? The magic 8 ball? Like,
I you
it was a
know?
different time.
But I'm just saying, like, there was a time, right, where,
Hmm.
when was it? Oh my gosh, I feel like I should know this better off the top of
Yeah.
my head. Was it Survivor, Heroes versus Villains? When was the time when people thought there was gonna be a merge, but there wasn't, and they
Yeah, it
all
says
brought
heroes
all their
versus
stuff?
villains, and they brought all their stuff.
Yeah, so
I will say that there was one time that I did get very burned on this because I went to a challenge
mhm,
and I left my bag at the camp,
right, and it
and
and it
the
burned.
camp burned down,
Yeah.
and I then lost access to. I had $240 in cash from the auction left over, and all of my stuff, and the magic 8 ball. Look at it, Mary. It's still it's not all because I didn't bring my bag to the challenge. It happens.
Yeah, so I think we're seeing from the beginning of time, right? That like if you don't bring your bag, that's on you. It's on you to make sure you've got your possessions where you want them.
That's right. That's right.
Um
Okay.
but yeah, I mean I think that if the ruling has been that they say somewhere in the rule book or somewhere wherever at the beginning of the game, hey, if we ever make you go to a different beach or whatever, we will make sure that you get your bag. But if they don't say that, then I think that what they're hoping, the reason they don't do that is so that they might have a scenario where somebody forgets something or somebody merges or swaps and forgets to bring their machete or whatever. This is
Mhm.
just the new version of that.
All right. Well, Mary, we have, of course, our friend Dalton Ross got to go to Jeff Probst himself to get the clarification on this. Like, what would have happened? Could Franny have brought the bag to Matt? What was going on there? And so we got from Dalton Ross that he says about this. In this situation, because of the specifics of the twist, Franny would not have been allowed to give Matt his bag. One of the keys to this idea was that the winning group would have no say in who was voted out from the losing group, except taking a vote
Except
from
for
somebody.
the advantage,
Yeah.
right?
So that means that nobody from the winning team can play an idol for you, play an extra vote against your opponent, or in this case, bring your bag with your shot in the dark and give it to you. So that cannot happen.
But what about this? At the challenge, if let's say Franny had an idol and she brought her bag with the idol or brought the idol to the challenge, could she have given that to Matt at the challenge before they separated?
That's interesting. And Matt's like, oh, I guess I picked up the wrong bag. Oh, this has an idol in it. That is interesting. I feel like that they would have stopped it if they would have seen it happening. But if he would have said, little does anybody know, I have Franny's idol in my bag, I think that would have been okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's so tricky, right? Because I know they like to control some things, but I agree with you. Like, if it's good TV, if they make a moment out of it, of the slipping of the idol, like, I mean, people can get
happens in Australian
advantages.
Survivor.
People can get advantages at challenges sometimes, so why not be able to do that? I mean, like, when you've had swaps and people give a hug goodbye or whatever, they could slip something to you. I don't know. I think it's possible. Or what about this? Franny's still in the challenge, doing the thing, thinks she can win, and yells, "Hey, Matt, grab the idol out of my bag," before the challenge is even over. Could do that.
Look, I think that they would let that go if you're going to make a big move like that. So, Mary, we now know that you cannot bring a person's bag. If you go to a challenge without the bag, then you are SOL because
but this is the same as in the past when someone's had an idol and then left it at camp and didn't bring it to tribal council.
Well, like, that's different. To go if you don't bring it to tribal council, that's your own.
But I
decision.
think the idea is if you have something that you might want at any time, keep it with you, because you never know when they might do an impromptu challenge.
That's all right. That's fair. Mary says it. That's the ruling, and that has always been the ruling
from the beginning of time.
No, because I want to go over to our friends over at Reddit, where user Vaunted Sapient found a 2014 interview with Jeff Probst, and I'm not sure who the interviewer is. I am looking at this, and that it's a question for Jeff. I get this question a lot when a surprise tribe switch happens, so I pass on that question to you, sir. Since contestants like Keith I'm trying to think which Keith this would be. I guess Keith Nail. Since contestants like Keith don't carry around their hidden immunity idols with them and instead leave them back at their old camp, how do they get it when they get swapped to a different tribe? Is it returned to them along with any other items they left back at their previous beach? And what do you think Jeff said?
I'm sure he said at the time, yes.
Yes. That Jeff says, great question. Depends on the situation. I guess now depends on the situation is doing a lot of work here. If you took your idol out of your bag and hid it under a rock and left without it, the rules of Survivor don't allow for any help for you to get it back. So in that sense, it's your responsibility to have it with you. But if you left it in your personal bag and just didn't bring your bag with you, then yes, we always move all of their personal items, clothes, water container, bag to get to their new island. So if you had it with you in your possessions, you're fine. If you hid it, you are not. We always remind players at the start of the game, one big idea: Survivor is unpredictable. No matter how well you know it, you can't be certain that it is going to go the way you think it is. So be prepared at all times, or as Jeff says, expect the unexpected.
Oh, he made that one up too?
Yes.
That's new.
Yes.
Never heard that before.
I do appreciate the number one comment to this article is since when? Thank you, Survivor fan Will.
I think the other one about this is if you really want to like look for fairness, there's absolutely no reason why the shot in the dark needs to be a mobile item. It could
That's
just
true.
be
Yeah,
in the
Jeff Pittman,
voting
I saw
booth.
tweeted about that. Yeah.
Yeah, just
That,
have it in the voting booth and everyone just takes theirs if they want to use it and whatever. Why
mhm.
do you need to have yours?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Let me ask another question to everybody over there at Survivor. How did Matt get his torch to get snuffed? Did he bring his torch to the old Soka camp and then bring it at Tribal? Did the players that were at the merge beach bring all the torches of the players? And were they allowed to have them?
Rob, the rules are flexible.
Very flexible. It depends on the situation. Okay, whatever. I do think that who cares? Matt should have been able to play the shot in the dark. It wasn't even a real idol. Like, I mean, I think that this was. I mean, David and Jessica really got into this on the podcast. But it's like, what are we doing here? What are we doing? Of that, we're saying like, you forgot your thing, so now you're in trouble. Like,
Yeah, that's not fun for anybody. I mean, it's like,
who is this for?
yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the purpose of that is. The only thing that I could see coming from this outcome is anybody who watches this season is just going to always take their stuff with them at all times.
Great,
So.
great. Honestly, and maybe this is like in sort of like, I do try to think about, well, what are they going for here? Now it's like, okay, so now I have to take all of my stuff with me every single time I go to a challenge. Are they hoping that people are going to see more idols or I got to pack up people are going to go through your bag, but you can't keep your stuff in your bag. So you got to go hide it. But now you have a challenge. So now go get your stuff out of your hiding spot and put it into your bag. And then when you get back from the challenge, I think it is just sort of like this knowledge is power mentality that they have where they want people to be in everybody else's business about who has what. And so I think that this is the type of thing that just leads you to, and honestly, for Survivor, it's like, you got too much stuff to take care of. There's too many idols and advances in this game. We can't keep track of it all. Okay. You take it with you wherever you go.
Rob, come close. Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
I think they didn't think this through all the way.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the answer. I don't think that this is some big brain plan to say we hope that everybody has all their stuff all the time and someone catches somebody digging up their idol before every challenge. I don't think that's what this is. I think this is just, it'll be a surprise and maybe someone will have forgotten their stuff. Whoops.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about the shock factor. That's what we're going for.
Very shocking. All right, Mary, this is something I really wanted to talk about today. I want to talk about Heidi and her decision. And boy, we've talked about this a lot on the podcast. I had a lot of fun with Christian going through what would have been the optimal move. And a lot of folks are feeling like, oh, Heidi did not do as much with this or as she should have. Where do you come down on what Heidi had to do at this tribal council?
So I know there's a lot of discussion about maybe she knew or thought that certain people had idols and thought it wouldn't matter. Here's another idea. And I didn't listen to the full Christian thing, so let me know if this has already been said.
Okay,
Sorry,
yeah.
haven't
You
got
have a
it.
life?
It's a busy week. Was this actually, because the edit of the show made it look like Heidi wants Matt to potentially go home. But then, actually, she's going to play the thing in the end in a way that she hopes might help Matt. Or she plays this exactly the way she does, knowing it won't help Matt, knowing that either Jam Jam is going home by everybody else's votes, and that's just what's going to happen. And in this way, optically, it looks like she tried to help Matt. Or Matt's going to be going home, where this move, like we saw, isn't going to be helping Matt regardless, but at least it looks like she tried. So she doesn't have the people in her tribe mad at her, but she still gets the outcome that we saw she might want, which is Matt going home.
Wow, Mary, you are so smart, because I was going to come on and talk about this exact scenario here with you. And I really had not heard it across the podcasts in terms of this idea. And it's an interesting one, okay? Because to continue to talk this through, okay? We know Heidi, I believe, is a very smart player. And Heidi wants a number of different things. She wants to feel like she has friends, and she wants to do this in a way that will help her gain friends in the game. And this idea of that, could Heidi have made this move in a way where she just wants to burn this thing and make it go away? Did Heidi make a move that she knew wouldn't work, perhaps even thinking that, oh, all right, well, Lauren will now have to play her extra vote and burn the extra vote in this spot to ensure Matt goes home? So I think that maybe in Heidi's perfect world, she ends up helping get Matt out of the game and also has Lauren burn an extra vote in the process. And ultimately, this does a couple of things for Heidi. One, keeps Danny happy. Hey, I'm making a move against Lauren because that's what you wanted to do. Hey, Franny, see, I'm trying to save Matt. Oh, it didn't work. Oh, and then also at the same time to go back to the Soka people and say, hey, I didn't put the vote on Soka. We could have tried to put a vote on one of you all. I voted for Jam Jam to keep you all safe.
I think the one problem with this move, and I don't know that there's anything she could have done to make it go away more, but it does result in potentially Carolyn and Jam Jam being upset with her.
Perhaps.
But if that's all, that's better than probably scenarios where a lot more people are upset at you.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, Mary, I want to bring something in, some corroborating evidence to all this. Okay.
Okay.
And tell me if you think this is out of bounds or not. Okay. So I have, I'm going to bring in twitter.com. Okay. And this comes across my timeline because I tweeted out about this in my own tweet. Yep. So lots of views, of course, and talk to Christian, and just rave reviews come in for the podcast. Okay. So then let me you know what? I don't want to say this is technical difficulties, but of the replies that I got from this, okay, I thought this was interesting. Okay, so Carrie Shea, PhD, we have a PhD that listens to this podcast, says Heidi having Jamie steal Lauren's vote makes sense. If Heidi didn't want to work with Lauren, I think she would have done it, right? She would have done it otherwise, right, Heidi? And so she goes on to say, this Carrie Shea, PhD, my gut says Heidi wanted to split the Frankenship and long-term work with Jam Jam and Lauren for the endgame. She looked loyal. I think she knows what she's doing. This tweet has 1 like.
I think that this is on to something. I think if especially if Heidi has any current relationship with Jam Jam and not just a hope to build one with him. I mean, bonus points if she went to Carolyn and somehow discussed this whole thought and discussed out how she thinks that this is going to actually, that Jam Jam will be safe. Like, because I think her argument here is basically, if they weren't already voting for Jam Jam, changing this 1 vote isn't going to make Jam Jam go home. He's either already going home or Matt's going home, and so it's fine. So I think hopefully that no matter what she did, she spent the time on that separate island to also bond with Carolyn and Jam Jam, or Carolyn, and then hopefully Jam Jam through her. But we'll see. I mean, I think we'll find out pretty quick next episode whether or not this was part of her plan or not. If she comes back and says, "Aha, it all worked how I wanted. Matt went home," then props to her.
Now, I told you, Mary, this tweet had 1 like.
Well.
Are you willing to guess who the 1 like was from?
Was it Heidi? Woo! I think we're doing good.
Now, maybe look, there are some people that they just like anything that has their name in it. But that when she likes the tweet that says, my gut says Heidi wants to split up the Frankenship, I think that Heidi wanted to vote out Matt and get closer to working with Franny and make Franny feel like, hey, oh, too bad. I tried to save him. I couldn't. And I wonder if then she's going to double back and say, Jam, now nobody will suspect that we're working together. I knew that you were going to be safe because that they wanted to vote out Matt and that Lauren would burn her extra vote.
She has plausible deniability. It's great.
Yes. This might have been, I don't know if I want to say a perfect move, but this could have been a great move.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly ways where I can make it a great move if she did certain things. I think the one way to make it a not as great, just a perfectly good move, is if she actually has no current relationship with Jam and that she's just hoping that this does something and then
I think she
doesn't
has a
actually
relationship
falter.
with Jam.
But if she's got a relationship with Jam, then I think this is good.
I think she said in the episode she has a sweet spot. I mean, I would think that they have a big connection, considering that they're both from Puerto Rico. That I feel like that is going to be something that is really going to help connect them. And I feel like for Heidi and Jam, I think they want to work together.
And I think the way that the episode set it up was the classic Survivor case of, here's what a person wants. They're going to tell you straight up what they want, but then they're going to make a move that makes it look like they changed their mind. And so the first thing that we saw was actually the red herring, when really it could be a double cross. The first thing we saw was right, but then what they did, they just cut out any parts where Heidi's explaining her move, and then either they continue to hide it from us and Heidi wins and we never understood everything that she did because they just under-edited her, or at the beginning of next episode we'll get a flashback to her decision making or her talking about why she did this.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. I do think that in the next episode we'll see Heidi explaining what happened, which, it's a pet peeve of mine in terms of the editing, that I kind of feel like, show us this in the same episode. Don't make us like think that one thing happened for a week and then come back the next week. But maybe they're just programming for the binge in terms of how they're doing it.
But that's how they always do it, right? Like they always,
in the new era, sure.
They always, well, but even in old school, they always gave you the, like you said, here's the plan, here's the fake plan that we need for TV to make people think that something else is happening. It just so happens that this time they edited it so that the real plan looked like the fake plan.
But I feel like that in the first 40 seasons, I don't think that there were many times where we had like a completely different understanding of an event based off of what happened in the next episode and a different interpretation of the events. Like there might be additional information. Like I can remember like seeing like Colby's confessional, like in the previously on when he voted for Jerry in the next week's episode that we didn't see in the first episode. But I kind of feel like that you didn't like start a new episode. It's like, actually what happened in the last tribal council was blah, 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 blah. And we're like, oh my God. Dwight's idol was not on his person.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to remember from your exit in Survivor All-Stars, because I feel like we didn't go into the tribal
back
council
in the beginning of time.
Yes, we didn't know going into tribal council that you were necessarily going out. It looked
Neither
like
did
potentially
I.
potentially something else was happening. And then I feel like in the beginning of the next episode, they're like, yeah, Rob's just
annoying.
Can't have two Robs or whatever.
What are you gonna do?
Oh,
what are you gonna do, Mary?
But I don't know. I'll be curious to see how they edited it. But I think that if they have more content of her saying I'm doing this intentionally, I think they were never going to show it anyway because they didn't want it to be very obvious.
Okay. So, and for Heidi, her wanting to split up the showmance, I think does speak to like going back to this idea of like, should you have a showmance on Survivor? Like, I think we could say like, yeah, probably not a great idea to do for Matt and Franny. Great idea for love, great idea for life. But if we're gonna say like, well, what were the holes in Matt's game? Okay, the thing having like a not so well hidden showmance was probably where somebody from Soka wants to see him go home in this spot because that they want to work with Franny and they don't feel like that they could be closer to Franny than he is. I think that that's probably a point against Matt.
But is it a point for Franny? Because now she's got a almost guaranteed vote in the jury, and
Well, yeah,
she was
this
the
is
one
the
that somebody
outcome
didn't
is
want
good
out.
for Franny for
Yeah.
sure. For sure.
I think if you, yeah, I don't know. I think if you are in a showmance where you've also got enough allies to if your showmance leaves, then
Yeah.
that's probably the best case scenario.
Well,
But you need to make sure you're the Franny and not the Matt in the
well,
showmance.
Mary, not to make this the whole podcast where we talk all about Big Brother, but that the Lisa Donahue and Eric
Yeah.
of Big Brother 3, that this was a similar scenario where
Uh-huh.
they were a showmance. And of course, that what a famous romance where Eric famously said to her, hi. And Lisa had never had anybody say that to her before.
Uh-huh. It was her
And
deepest
but
dream.
Lisa had the opportunity to vote him back into the game and said, no, I will that because and she knew that it was better for her to not have Eric, that distraction, in the game. And so I do think that this could be a net positive for Franny, but I do feel like for the two of them, I think that the showmance itself was probably a net negative for their gameplay.
Yeah, probably. I think also they just didn't do a good job of hiding it at all. And I mean, that was it, considering the fact that I don't even know if showmance can really be used. It was like a crushmance. Like it was apparent that they
For
were
Matt and
a
Franny,
pair. Yeah, I mean,
they
like,
held hands, Mary.
yeah, and they hugged for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
It's-
Mm-hmm.
I'm just not a hugger, so
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
it made me uncomfortable. I don't know. Like if there was no romantic notions at all, but they were just a pairing, would it have been looked at the same way? Probably.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So I showed you, okay, Heidi liked the tweet talking about wanting to break up the Frankenship, but also in my research for today's podcast, I came across this tweet from another member of the cast. This is something that I have not really ever seen before. In the Survivor 44 cast, they're built different, Mary. Okay. And so here's a tweet from the verified Jamie Lynn Ruiz. And she had an interesting tweet. Mary, may I play this for you and get your reaction to this? Okay.
Oh,
This
please
is
do.
from Jamie's Twitter. This is a highlight reel of Survivor 44.
If you're looking to go into the merge even stronger, I'm really valuable. I know everything that's going on at Road 2. So it's like, hello.
I'm not gonna commit to anything. I'm a noodler. I
Yes.
prefer slow deliberation.
For a player to not jump on that is mind blowing.
We want to work with you all to make that happen.
I do see the value, especially with you.
This is a great measurement of how deep your social game is because we could have 3 people that we're working with or 0 people that we're working with.
Okay, so Jamie re-edited Survivor 44 to show all the clips of her trying to work with Matt and Matt not want to work with her and then her voting him out.
You know what? I appreciate it. Make yourself main character. Like, you know, Jamie is saying that I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And here's the show from my perspective. Did I lie? I tried to work with him. He didn't jump on that. Boom, he goes home. Coincidence? I don't think so.
By the way, the text on this tweet is, in case you missed it, Magic Wand stars, #Survivor, #Survivor 44.
I love
Wow.
it. I think everybody should be doing this. I mean, this is what we do when we play Among Us, right? Some people, everyone's got their own stream. If you're watching one person's stream, you see the story from their perspective, and then you can edit it all together. And she's like, I'm pulling it apart. I'm doing the reverse. I've got the whole edited content, but we need to just pull my bits out so you see exactly what I was doing.
Mary, so my question for you is, who's saltier, Jamie or the potato chips from the reward challenge?
Salty potato chips.
Now, why did you say that salty potato chips are a bad idea? Don't you want that? You're
did I say
sweating
that?
out there? I don't know. Somebody did.
I don't recall. Look,
Might have been Steven. I don't remember.
Might have been. Why were the chips so salty?
Salty potato chips.
Were they salt and vinegar potato chips, Mary? Did they add extra? Were these especially salty potato chips, or were they just regular potato chips? and Jeff is just adding the modifier.
Try to just say potato chips and sell it and make it sound delectable. You need to add an adjective in there. So, I mean, you could say crunchy potato chips. Is
But
that
you know what?
better?
In all that humidity, I bet they're not super crunchy.
Right. So, but they probably are salty. And I feel like if you're sweating, you need to get that right.
Electrolytes, sure.
Electrolyte, yeah. Should be good.
Salty potato chips.
Salty potato chips. Yeah. That just I could listen to that all day.
One more time.
Salty potato chips.
Salty potato chips. All right. So they did. Let's talk about the reward a little bit. Okay. So PB&J, that's a staple of the new era. They love giving away giant PB&J sandwiches, which, going back to Big Brother 3 famously, was not a punishment for Eric. He loved peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. But when you're a have-not and you didn't get any salty potato chips, sadly, and everybody got to eat their sandwich and then they got their chips. But unfortunately for Kane, apparently that he overdid it on the PB&J sandwich.
And I just put a massive peanut butter sandwich down. So I'm like sloppy Sasquatch.
So Kane was having trouble with going to get. Was this part of the thing where it's like eat this sandwich and then go run around and cramp up everybody?
These people.
Was that part of it?
They're just clearly not ultra marathon runners, and it shows, because rule number 1 of ultra marathoning is practicing eating and doing athletic activities at the same time. So I think that that's the next thing that people need to be doing. People practice this when they go on like the challenge, but maybe for Survivor, you need to practice being extremely hungry and then eating a ton of food and not puking.
But did they eat a ton of food? And I've been in the position of like, okay, you're on Survivor and then it's the merge feast. I'm going to overindulge. It seemed like that they had a sandwich. Like what they ate did not seem like this was not a West Nail taco overload situation. They seemingly had one peanut butter and jelly sandwich and salty potato chips.
Was there a
like,
drink?
This is lunch. Yes, the lunch was iced tea, Mary.
Oh, okay. So that's not. It wasn't even like they had like some sort of like lactose situation. Or something.
No. And you would think like after being like not eating for so long, I don't know. It didn't seem like that they were eating like 50,000 calories in one sitting. It was a sandwich and chips.
Yeah, but did Kane just say it, or did he actually appear to be a sloppy Sasquatch? Because if he just said it, maybe he's just
looking. And I just put a massive peanut butter sandwich down, so I'm like sloppy Sasquatch.
See, to me, that sounds more like maybe it was the way he ate it. He ate it so fast that he was sloppy. He just shoved it in his face.
Maybe he like, it was like, I'm covered in peanut butter and I'm moving so slow.
He said sloppy, not sluggish.
Well, he's sloppy. He's covered in PB&J.
He's got jelly fingers,
So, what do you think if your hands were covered in PB and jelly? Would that hurt you with getting all the keys?
I think they would stick to you more, right? You just run with your hands out.
Yeah, I guess
the
so.
keys would just stick.
But you might get all the leaves and stuff stuck to you. Wow, that's
what they needed. It needed to be more like what was the show where you had to like climb through the nose?
Double Dare?
Yeah, it'd be more like Double Dare, right? Where you first have to climb through the PB&J and then run and try to get the keys. And then a little flag comes up.
Yeah, that would be great. You gotta eat your way through to get to the keys. Did you like the keys, Mary? I heard on the different podcasts, Steven loved the keys. Shannon and Taryn, they hated the keys. Where did you come down on the keys?
What's wrong with keys? I think it's fun. I think I saw people saying like that they definitely needed to have more than one correct key. I don't know about that. I feel like it sort of depends how far. This was like an Easter egg hunt. It was just topical. That's all, right? Like it's just an Easter egg hunt. You grab the key, you try to open the thing. I thought it was fun. Like, I that was my least biggest qualm with the whole like
Mhm.
situation. Now, I correct me. Was it in a bird cage again?
Yes, the
Did it
advantage
need
was
to
in the
be a
birdcage.
bird cage?
I think they had the birdcage already.
Yeah. See, I feel like if they
Repurpose it.
they could have changed the creativity, and if
To
you
what?
wanted to make like like a treasure chest or something. I don't know.
Mhm.
What's on the logo? Is there anything on the logo
No,
that would?
the logo, you could look on our screen. You can see the logo.
Yeah.
Logo is nothing.
Yeah, so that didn't help.
Yeah.
Now, if we wanted to make this more like a
Big
challenge
Brother.
where, well, I think that there needs to be my situation with the keys is if you really want to make this interesting, there needs to be a downside to getting the wrong key so that you might not want to go for the keys. You might want to wait until a bunch of people get the keys, run the risk of not getting the reward, but there should be a punishment and not losing votes. I'm not talking like that. Like
Mhm.
maybe you have to eat something really gross when you get a key that doesn't work. You have to eat a whole nother PB and J.
Keep eating PB&J. You have to go back through the here. Okay, Mary, this is it. Yeah, that there should have been like a vat of PB&J.
Right.
That it's
Right.
like now you've just eaten PB&J. You're sick of it. Crawl through the vat of
Yes.
PB&J. That's where all the keys are. And if your key is wrong, then crawl back through it.
Yeah. Exactly. That's perfect. Plus, then everybody shows up at tribal council and they're just caked in PB&J, and you know how the people sitting on the,
Yeah, and
actually
they'll be
voting,
like,
they'd be
"Oh,
so
like
mad.
I'm getting so hungry. That like we haven't eaten all day, and you you are covered in delicious PB&J and salty potato chips. Should they tar and feather them with the salty potato chips?
And then you come back and you're like, here, you can lick my fingers.
Yes. Okay. So also, I wanted to ask you this about Kane, because there's one thing that we know about Kane from this season of Survivor, Mary, and that is that he loves Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, yeah.
This is like, I'm in Dungeons and Dragons, smiling, ripping around. There's advantages, there's magical items in play.
Now, Mary, for anybody who doesn't know you very well, okay, Mary is a big Dungeons and Dragons fan,
Oh,
has
yeah.
played many a times.
I
Now,
have.
do you feel seen from Kane's inclusion in this season?
So I like that Kane has picked one thing and is running with it. I like that. I like that he's
Like a sloppy Sasquatch.
he's chosen this Dungeons and Dragons thing, and I appreciate the fact that he's like, I'm gonna burn this metaphor into the ground even when it's not applicable. Because last time I checked, I haven't had the experience personally of playing Dungeons and Dragons where just at any second an advantage could pop out. You
Mhm.
could grab it.
That's
There's usually-
uncommon.
Well, I mean, there are magical items and everything, but it's not like the game is like, okay, everyone, dungeon party, just run around and try to look for advantages.
Okay, so are you ever the dungeon master, Mary?
I've thought about it, but you know me
You
and
thought
my
about it.
procrastination.
Yeah, okay. But so you've never played where the dungeon master is like, okay, you encounter a forest, and in the forest there's
keys.
there's a bird cage, and there are a number of keys hidden about.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, look for keys.
Right.
I'm gonna look for the key.
Yeah. Yeah, it is usually a little bit more of a puzzle to it than that. But hey, look, if this is if this is something that comes up in my next time playing, I think the key is here. The key is just that you need to have a spell, right? That just makes all the keys come towards you. Just get a magical metal detector, and then you're good. You're good to go. Yeah, I love Kane with the Dungeons and Dragons stuff though. It's like we've had enough of the Kane archetype, but I don't know that we've ever had anyone talk about Dungeons and Dragons. So I appreciate the fresh new take he's got here.
Have we ever had a Survivor character that was so one note about one subject? Can you think of another person in the history of the show, and chat, get in on this, all of their confessionals are about this one specific topic that is outside the scope of the show?
See, at first I was gonna say like Coach with the like Dragon Slayer stuff, but that's not really. He kind of brought that into the show. Like I don't know that
Yeah.
that he was doing that outside. Debbie and her jobs. Let's see.
But that's not
Trying to
like
think.
one specific. Like she's many specific things.
I don't know. I mean, this would be more like if everything that Lil did in all of her confessionals was saying as a troop
As a
master.
cups, this is just like getting a merit badge.
Right. Yeah.
I'm-
Yeah.
It's like I'm getting the PB&J merit badge today.
Yeah. Jeff and the Monster in season 41. I'm seeing a couple different things in the chat, but I don't know that anyone's like really like I think that's what I like is that we've had people who are like the nerdy archetype who just say a lot of different nerdy things. But this is the one thing when we leave this season, we will think, what do you think when you think about Kane? Oh, Dungeons and Dragons. So I think it's all in the branding.
It's all in the branding, not in the Brandon for Kane this season. So let's see if he's going to ultimately talk about anything else this whole way through other than his story. He's the first character in the history of the show that his story, his arc on the show might be product placement for the Dungeons and Dragons movie, which is a Paramount production.
Maybe that's what he was thinking. Like they announced the movie before he went out to play Survivors. Maybe he was just thinking, I'll get back and hopefully get free tickets or some merch.
Do you think they gave him free tickets to the Dungeons and Dragons movie?
Probably not.
Yeah.
But is this a thing people should be doing? You know, I'm actually kind of surprised that he's been able to talk about Dungeons and Dragons so much without it being like dinged for some kind of copyright or something.
Well, I think that the Survivor knew about this. Like my galaxy brain is like, okay, Survivor, like CBS / Paramount knew the Dungeons and Dragons movie was coming out in the spring and that they knew they were filming Survivor 44 in the spring. Let's put somebody on who is a big Dungeons and Dragons person. And they will constantly ask him, like, how is this like Dungeons and Dragons? How is this like Dungeons and Dragons?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's great.
I mean, there was a tweet or an Instagram post from the Survivor CBS account that talked about like Dungeons and Dragons. And then also on top of that, that the immunity necklace or the immunity idol is a shield and a sword. And, you know, I really do feel like that they knew from like the design, the concept art of the season that they were going to try to figure out Dungeons and Dragons product placement in this season.
I could see it.
Am I too far gone, Mary?
No, I mean I don't think so. But I feel like if that was the case, they would have done like an actual sponsored challenge or something.
Yes, but what if nobody who works on the production knows anything about Dungeons and Dragons?
Well, that's why they had to get Kane.
That's why they had to get Kane. Bring her. Yeah. Okay, Mary. We have still a lot of stuff to talk about. Okay. We haven't talked about too much about Matt and Franny, of course. Matt and Franny, star-crossed lovers who are separated now as Franny is still in the game and Matt is gone. You just got through a season covering Love is Blind, season 4 with Asia Welch, with the reunion show coming on Tuesday night. So tell us, Mary, this is a question from Sarah Seal. Which is a better show to find love on, Survivor or Love is Blind?
Well, do we had the running number for a while of how many couples were still together from Survivor that met on their season? Because I know there's a couple more. I mean, it was for a long time the Survivor numbers were way above like The Bachelor. Percentage wise right now, like Love is Blind is still doing pretty good, all things considered.
Okay.
So I think that's good. But I think the beauty of the Survivor relationship is it's like a 2-for-1 deal. You get the Survivor and you get the relationship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think
you get to have the experience of being on Survivor, whereas Love is Blind is not that cool of an experience.
Yeah, I mean, if your goal for an experience is 4 weeks and then a marriage to a complete stranger, then it's a great experience. Yeah, but I think this is, I think more people need to be trying to find love on Survivor.
Yeah,
All couples season. Let's do it.
all couple season. That would be interesting.
What if the people from MILF Manor were
Oh
on
no,
Survivor?
the moms and the sons.
Like, do you
Is it
think
MILF Island?
does that have legs? Is that
Oops, all
anything?
MILFs. Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I was thinking more like a blood
So
versus
it's like
water
a blood
thing.
versus water where it's all
Couples.
moms and
Well,
their
no,
F-boy adult sons.
okay, yeah, I was kind of joking about that. But like on The Amazing Race, right? They did the like
It's
dating
safe.
season. Like, what if they did the same kind of thing for this?
Yeah,
Like
all
they did
couples. I mean,
all couple, but not established couples, people who could go on to become couples.
oh, so okay. I kind of feel like that Jeff is not gonna be up for this. Of all of his ideas, he's like, I'm gonna draw the line on this. So okay, basically, so this all singles.
But it's not just all
Can we get
singles.
Marvin? This is Marvin's chance to be on Survivor.
It's not just all singles. It's all singles
Looking for love.
deliberately put on the show to date, like people that they think people would be good with.
Yes.
And then you
So
I
you
see-
basically like want to do like a perfect match of Survivor, like basically to talk about the other
Yeah.
show that Asia podcast is about. So I almost feel like that for Survivor, like it's almost against the entire like ethos of the show, which is about you're going to have this adventure and this experience and it's going to change you. So it seems like that would be a radical shift to that we are also at the same time going to help people find love.
Yeah, no, it's a horrible idea. I mean, it's exactly what we didn't like about the seasons of Survivor where it was all young hot
But
models and actors.
they literally
right?
did it on The Amazing Race. So
I mean,
and it was one
yeah.
of the better seasons of The Amazing
But
Race.
The Amazing Race, the reason it works on The Amazing Race is because you're in pairs. Survivor, you're not in pairs. So this doesn't really work. Unless they were doing like a Are You the One Survivor crossover, where the idea is
Are you the one world?
there's two tribes. They've strategically put someone on the opposite tribe of you who they've done some sort of test that's
And
supposed
you don't
to be
know
your
who it
perfect-
is.
You don't know who your perfect person is, but they're over there. And so they say, hopefully they don't get voted out.
Yeah,
And if
all
you
right.
happen to make it to the end and win with your supposed pair.
This is even better, Mary. Okay, so now it's like, all right, okay, Mary, you have to pick one person from the losing tribe that you think could be your one. What would they call it on Survivor? Your heart survivor.
Your soul, yeah, because it's like soul survivor but with heart. Your soulmate, your soul survivor mate. Is that a thing? I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I asked ChatGPT for some names for this season. Okay.
Great.
All right.
A Survivor season involving dating.
Yes. Okay. All right. So tell me if any of these are hitting for you. Okay. Survivor : Heart of the Wild.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't know about the wild, but I like. Okay, we're getting somewhere.
Okay. Survivor : Tropic Temptations.
Now, Temptations has already been used on one of these shows, but I like that one better.
Okay. Survivor : Passions Paradise.
I don't think they want paradise in this. See, that's a problem.
Okay. Survivor : Cupid's Quest.
That's good. What about like Survivor : Fiji Fantasy?
This is like I'm in Dungeons and Dragons, smile and rip around.
What if Fiji Fantasy?
Yeah, I don't know. I was just trying to think of something.
But no, I think that this is it. I think we have it. Okay. Not Survivor : Alluring Adventures. Okay. This is it, Mary. Survivor : Flirting with Fire.
Oh, that's perfect. Ding, got it. Yep, love it. The best.
They love this Matt and Franny story. So this was good. What did you think, Mary, of the montage that we got of Matt and Franny in the episode?
It's from like 2 episodes ago, right? I think I don't remember when it was. Sometime recently on an episode of Survivor, they did a flashback to something that happened earlier in that episode. Like we already saw
Mhm.
it. I mean, oh,
Yeah.
it was cute. It was cute, but
Was that a fan cam that they made?
basically, are there Matt and Franny fan cams out there?
Not enough. Fran cams?
Fan cams. Yeah.
Not enough.
Look,
Not enough. We
you know
loved
what?
it.
I was a sailor aboard the Frankenship. I think that was fun. I think that this was definitely a more I don't know if tame is the right word.
No, it
Like
is. It is,
it,
Mary.
it
Because well, let me ask you. Because this is just of course, you are the number one Boston Rob
oh
super
yes.
fan. I think I've never really heard you say anything about Amber. But I assume you like her
I mean,
too.
yeah, you can't be a Rob fan without being an Amber
Okay.
fan.
All right. But to compare the Rob and Amber show, like Survivor's most famous showmance with this,
Mhm.
it really is very much night and day because I mean, the the Rob and Amber relationship from the jump was a lot about, hey, she's got a smoking ass. And she's like, oh, I'm watching him chop down the wood and it's so hot. And like Matt and Franny is just like, we'd like to hold hands and go for have some Ethiopian food. That would be swell.
Yeah, I mean it's great though. Like we need both, you know?
Mhm.
We need some people out there being awkward because that's what some of us identify with, you know, like I'm not gonna go on Survivor and have someone be like, oh yeah, look at her with the smoking ass, right? No, it's gonna be like, oh, I really identify with how Mary is so geeky like me. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Thank you. I will happily sign up for Survivor Flirting with Fire.
I love it so much. Okay. Um Mary, the tribe, we got a tribe name this week. Vava. That
Ba-ba-boom.
as a resident of the state of Virginia, do you feel seen?
Who wrote that question? Was that you? Well, you know what they say. You know what they say.
What?
Virginia is for lovers.
For lovers. Yeah. That's right. All right. So, but good merge name. What do you think? I mean, it's fine. It's
Yeah.
fine, but like, let's not now we're just gonna say like the season is already called Survivor 44. Let's not do the merge tribe name is the numbers in Fijian every season.
Yeah. Okay. Merge tribe name. Keep the 4. Keep the other 4. Like we got
Drop the va,
nothing.
keep the va.
Yeah, we got nothing. We got nothing. It's it's fine. I mean, I appreciate the repeated thing. It's no shaboga mogo.
No, what is? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Then we have a question from Megan Cobb Sheehan, who says, on a scale of 1 to 10, how cute are Matt and Franny? And 2, was it ultimately the best thing for Franny's game for Matt to go? Okay, we've established that, yes, probably a good thing for Franny's game long term. But on a scale of 1 to 10, how cute are Matt and Franny?
I like a 10. Like, I mean, is anyone out there
10.
saying this is not cute? Like,
No, I think
you
cute
know?
is probably the best word for them.
Yeah, I think it's cute. I mean, here's the thing: we've established based on
As
exit interview,
LJ would say, more cute than hot,
more
right?
cute than hot.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've established based on the exit interview that they're still going strong, and so we can still happily root for them. I think this is great. I'm here for the love, so I think that's I think they're super cute. I think that there was a lot. It was interesting how it was edited. Do you think, here's a question. Do you think that they edited it from a more Matt being the one leading the crush perspective because he was going home early and they wanted to, I don't know, just like not have that be Franny's whole character? Or did you think he was just given more content?
I think that he probably was talking about it more in the confessionals. I feel like that Franny, to me, seems like a little bit more guarded. We even got the scene with her where the producer, like, seemingly had to try to, like, get it out of her, where we heard the producer's voice, like, are you blushing? And she's like, where Matt is like, oh my God, Franny is so great, and we're this and we're that. And I think that he was just probably like a little bit more open about the whole thing. And plus, he had the story of he was coming out of the breakup, and then also he had all these things go wrong for him. So I do feel like that ultimately Franny was Matt's story, but maybe Matt will not be the extent of Franny's story.
Right. Yes. And I really appreciate Matt for going on TV and being willing to talk about all his hardships, and then to see his love story. Like, that was great. It was very cute. Good job, Matt. I don't know that I would say it worked out being cute because the feelings were reciprocated. We've seen, not to bring up Big Brother again, but we've seen people have unrequited crushes that come off much more creepy than cute, right?
Sure.
So
This was good. That he liked her and she liked him, and then it was we can all not get weirded out. But Mary, it was, I thought, a rather ironic end that Matt ultimately loses the game on a challenge where he
got my big long rod.
He could not hold the big long rod.
Well, you know what they say, it's not about size, it's about how you work it, and he just didn't know how to.
He couldn't keep it up, sadly. So Mary, what about the decision for Franny to throw the challenge? Did you have a strong take about this?
Yeah, I mean, I think the no-brainer correct move is you throw the challenge at the point where you've won. I mean, you throw it convincingly to where it's not obvious. And I think that's not just for the Matt thing. I think that if you have an opportunity to have individual immunity and if you look at your group and you say there's someone over here that could be going home, and it's not one of my close allies, and you can take the target a little bit off yourself, I think that's great. Like, nobody could be mad at you for not getting them PB&J when they failed first. So,
and you don't think that Heidi was saying to Franny, don't give up, keep going, don't give up. You don't think that she was like from the I guess she didn't know that she had the advantage yet, but maybe she was like kind of secretly hoping that Matt would get voted out.
Yeah. I mean, if I was Heidi, I would be definitely saying that right now, whether or not that's the case.
Yeah. Okay. So many other things to get into. You want to just look? Okay, we've been having a lot of fun about stuff. But let me just give you a couple of questions of people, because people are still mad about this episode. Okay,
of course.
So let me ask you this. Okay, we have let me ask you this question from John. Okay, John says, production seems very terrified of a ho-hum vote. How can they reconcile this terror with the potential for 90-minute episodes? Will the game mechanics go further into overdrive to fill time? Can they start to play with the episode structure? I suggest if there's a boring vote, they should just get to the vote early and then continue on to the next cycle. End on something other than the vote. If it's a boring cycle, yada yada through it in 35 minutes and move on to the good stuff. Okay. Now, did you see the rumors last week that Survivor may be considering 90-minute episodes?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And we've been talking about like a lot of the changes that have gone on for Survivor in terms of the different advantages that are being introduced into the game, presumably to make things more exciting. Mary, do you think that 90-minute episodes are just going to be even more bonkers?
I would hope that the 90-minute episode is there to show us the things that we've been asking for, that the advantages have been taking time away from. right? Like I don't think that they put the advantages in the game because they feel like the episodes individually are boring. I think they put the advantages in the game as a way to sell interesting new changes for the game and to mix things up and keep the players on their feet. But for the players out there, they're still living the same amount of time just with advantages thrown in,
Well,
right? Well,
13 days less time,
for
but
the last 3 seasons, yeah.
Mhm.
But if you make the 90-minute episodes but keep the same number of challenges and same number of advantages as now, then I would expect that we would just get a little bit more extra time of camp life and or
Mhm.
extending the stuff we've gotten from the advantages, but basically filling back in the stuff that the advantages took place of.
Yeah. Mary, the two questions that I just keep coming back to in my head are number one, that for the players and the people that are making the show, are they while in Fiji for 26 days just, oh my God, this is the best. This is so exciting. This is so tense. It makes so much sense. It's amazing. And something is just being lost in translation. That is my big question. I would have to like really like talk to one of the people that has played. And my sense is, believe it or not, I feel like my sense is that yes, like I feel like that in talking with like any of these people, like I haven't specifically asked them that question, but none of the people from the new era that I've spoken to are like, oh man, yeah, Survivor, it sucks. It's like it makes no sense. It's horrible. Like they're not saying the things that a lot of the viewers and people on Twitter are saying. So I do have to feel like that part of it is that there's just too much going on that can be shown on television.
Yeah, and I think the bottom line of most of the complaints are more around we're getting too much time on this new twister advantage or whatever, and we're getting less time to understand the dynamics between the people,
Mhm.
so that when you have certain people win, you're like, we didn't get their story because we spent so much time on the people who had advantages or on the new twists or whatever. And I think for the people out there, they feel like, oh, well, of course, we voted for the person. It made sense when we were out there why we voted for them. It made sense why we were out there, why certain people were doing well, why certain people were aligned with each other. And so I think it can be really difficult to finish a game and then watch some episodes and not fill in all the gaps of
Yeah.
the things that we're not seeing. So I think like if you yeah, I don't know if and maybe you can ask someone when they get voted out, like, do you feel like the TV show has been representative of your experience out there? But I don't know if that's really any different. Because I agree with you. I feel like most people on the show seem to be enjoying being on the show
Mhm.
and enjoying how it's going. So I think that we're just missing something. And hopefully the 90-minute episodes are giving us that. We'll see.
We'll see. Okay. And then number two, Mary, I know that your family are lots of reality TV fans, Survivor and The Amazing Race. That are your parents liking this season?
Yeah, yeah, they are. I mean, my mom's rooting for Heidi, so she was pretty happy with
Mhm.
all that.
Yeah.
Um,
Eh,
they're liking it. They've liked all the seasons that have happened. I think from the more casual perspective, I don't think that they have as many issues with everything that's going
Well,
on.
that's the thing also where that the people who care the most are the people who are the most upset.
Mhm.
And the people that care the least are the people that like it the most. And now I think that that's probably backwards in terms of the incentive structure that you want in terms of Survivor. But like my mom texts me, she's like, oh, this is great. And I feel like that this Survivor 44, it's your parents' favorite season of Survivor for whatever, like the people that if you're not thinking about it that critically, boy, this is a fun season. And so, like, I kind of feel like that for Survivor, like, I do get like that if they're trying to appeal to the broadest number of people possible and keep a television show on the air, like maybe that's how I do. I still think that there are ways to like keep all of the people who are watching casually and also the most like ardent of super fans. I think you can do both. That being said, like I feel like that they like have like thrown their lot in clearly with the, okay, it's just a vibe. Don't think too much about it.
It's interesting because before I discovered Survivor on the internet, podcasts, fandoms, etc., I thought I was a super fan, and I didn't look at it like I was a casual. I looked at it like I was a super fan who had watched all of the seasons and knew everything there was possible to know about it from watching it, not from being able to then analyze it, but just from watching it. And there were certain seasons that were favorite seasons of mine that now that I have gone back and have analyzed it and stuff, I view less. I don't like them as much, even though I liked them at that time, because there were the things I was interested in have now been colored by, oh, well, the strategy wasn't really that great. But what did I like about it? The interesting characters, the challenges, the location, that kind of thing. I've talked to people at work who watch Survivor who are relatively casual, but they think they're a super fan. And they think they're a super fan, but then we'll like get season numbers wrong, and I just like I don't correct them because like come on people, let's not do that. But
that's very big of you, Mary.
yeah. But they will. I asked them after the first couple of weeks like who they thought was going to win, what they liked, and I kept getting similar answers, which was shock that people like Carolyn and Jam Jam were still around. That they thought, oh, they should have been voted out first because they're the kooky character. That's what happens, right? On Survivor, those people have to be voted out first. So for some people, there hasn't been a shift in their viewing of like what they don't differentiate it as this is new school. If you've been watching it, but you can't see that change. Yeah, so there's people like I think my parents are probably more on that boat, but then much like the rest of the world have come to love Carolyn and Jam Jam because how can you not on the season. So I don't know. I think that I wouldn't say what you said, which is that the people who care the least like it the most. I would say it's the people who don't
care medium.
Well, it's the people I think they care about the show. They just don't necessarily spend a lot of time and effort thinking critically about how the show could be its best or comparing things from one season to the next. It's like the people who love certain movies aren't the same as the ones who loved the books they were based on. The people who love the books they were based on can get frustrated with adaptation and change. But that doesn't mean that the people who love those movies don't love the movies and don't feel intensely personal about with them. So I don't know. Maybe we like I don't want to say like, oh, just forget it, let Survivor be Survivor. I think it's great to have the people out there fighting the good fight, trying to see who we can
know me, Mary. As I always say, let Jeff cook, all right?
Yeah. But if you want to enjoy the show, sometimes you have to kind of like take a step back and just accept it for what it is.
Right. Because like they are going for a thing and they are doing the thing that they are going for. Sarah West wants to know, does Mary have an impression of any of the cast members so far?
Oh my gosh. Trying to think of anyone who sounds I could definitely not. I have not even tried to do anybody. You have to be like just absurdly comically Southern for me to even attempt an impression.
Okay. Mary, now this is something that's pretty incredible. Okay. All right. So I will play some more voicemails from our listeners. Okay. First off, let me bring in somebody who's a regular on the voicemail show. Let's bring in our friend Josh Green has a question. Okay, here is Josh Green.
Rob, Mary, what's going on? Josh Green from Philly calling in. Want to talk about something I haven't seen a ton of discourse about, seen it a little bit here and there, but my guy Brandon has been immune the entire season. And I don't know if Survivor cares about people being immune for over half the season, but they should, because it really favors strong men when everyone should have a fair shot to win the game. Brandon played his idol at the first tribal, then RHAP 2 won every challenge before the merge after that. and then he was on the right mergatory team, and then one individual immunity. So what could Survivor do? Obviously, there's a ton they could do to change, but the fact that someone's been immune for over half of the game is just insane. So what do you guys think they could do to change that? Thanks.
Okay. Mary,
Yeah.
does this bother you that Brandon has not been eligible for a vote yet?
I mean, this is not a since when. This is a since the beginning of time, right?
Mhm.
You know, I mean, the entirety of oh, hold on. The one that wasn't Oolong.
Karor?
Karor. The entirety of Karor was
They did have
immune
to
for
go to
half
one
the
tribal
season.
council and vote out
Yeah.
Willard. Yeah.
Yeah. R.I.P. Willard on that season. Yeah, no.
Willard is alive. Willard is
Yeah,
alive.
I know, I was trying to correct. Yeah, like I think that it is great to come up with ways that could make
Mhm.
the challenge portion of Survivor more even across
Yeah.
all archetypes.
Yeah.
But
But
this is not a new thing. This is just something that's
yeah.
been in Survivor from the beginning. I think that more recently we'll see. I think the challenges have become more homogenous recently.
Mhm.
It's the same thing that we've seen of obstacle course, obstacle course, obstacle course. I think if you look back at the first half of the show, there were more tribal challenges that were trivia or memorization or
Yeah.
balance or something.
And with all due respect to Josh, I don't agree with his characterization that Brandon wasn't eligible for a vote. I mean, he was the target of the first vote. He got 2 votes against him and played an idol. So it's not like that and it wasn't an idol that was given to him. Like he found the hidden immunity idol. And then hasn't been back to tribal council, and then hasn't been up for the vote the last 2 weeks. And you know who else hasn't been up for the vote the last 2 weeks? Carolyn. So it's not like that. It's like this great statistical anomaly that Brandon like hasn't been able to be have had any votes against him.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's so much that's going to come down to on Survivor what
Mhm.
challenge or what tribe you get put on at the
Yeah.
beginning of the game.
You know who
And
else didn't get
yeah,
a vote? Wasn't able to get a vote against them for half the game. Michelle Fitzgerald in Survivor Co. Wrong, or Suri in
yeah,
Survivor Game Changers. Like it happens.
yeah, it happens, and that's why luck is such a big part of the game.
Yeah.
I think it's more here about luck and less here about being a particular like strong male
Mhm.
archetype or
Yeah.
something. So
But
I mean, I
Mary,
think that does factor in, but it's not the only thing.
sure, there's other things that we need to be worried about. Okay. All right. But speaking of statistical anomalies, okay, Mary, what are the chances that we would have another voicemail from Josh Green?
Hi, Rob. Hi, Mary. This is Josh Green from Milwaukee here.
Different Josh Green.
Wow. That's shocking.
Now
And
that's
now I'm trying to figure out which one's tweeting at me.
the first one, not Josh Green from Milwaukee. Okay. All right. Here we go. Here's Josh Green from Milwaukee.
Hi, Rob. Hi, Mary. This is Josh Green from Milwaukee here. Rob, I was listening to your recap episode with Christian today, and you were talking about how it's kind of a new thing that everyone is freaking out about Lauren's extra vote and how that's such a big advantage to be neutralized or taken out. And I wonder if this is because, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, but I wonder if this is because they all just finished 42 and we saw Marianne take out Omer in that really incredible way using her extra vote, where the extra vote was the thing that tipped the scales in favor of it was kind of the difference between Omer going home and not going home, at least as far as what the edit showed us. When before we had never really seen an extra vote used that well or used in such a way that it was the difference between of like someone going home and not going home. So I wonder if I'm curious on your thoughts on if it's the Marianne factor of making the extra vote seem like a way bigger deal than it is. Yeah, so I'd love to hear your thoughts on this.
Okay, Mary. Is there so much concern about the extra vote because they just watched Marianne season?
trying to think. How many times has the extra vote been used well? Is that the only time that it has been?
I mean, in Survivor 41, that it was part of a split vote to get Nasir out of the game, but I think that Marianne used it most impactfully in Survivor 42.
I don't know, because I don't think we look at like, oh, every time an idol was successfully played as like, oh, well, we got to make sure we get out all the idols every
Yeah.
time. I think it's, it's probably anything that people can think about from the previous season probably factors in. But if I was out there, I'd be thinking less about what Marianne did and more about what could the extra vote do. So, and especially in a case like this of if there's anyone hoping to get Lauren out, thinking so we saw in the first part of the episode before the challenge, that was when Lauren was the target, and that's before they knew that they were going to go down to the split tribes. But they, seeing the last several seasons, they know that there's probably a point in the game when they are going to split down into smaller tribes, and then the extra vote becomes so much more powerful. So I can't blame them for wanting to get it out early.
Okay. I agree with you. I don't think it was specifically a Marianne thing. Okay, I've got one more voicemail I want to play for you. Now, did you happen to check out the official Survivor podcast this week, Mary?
I did not.
Is it required listening for you? Okay. Did you happen to hear Jeff's fleshed out idea for Survivor 41 and the fire token economy?
No, but I'm
okay.
fascinated.
You're in for a treat. You're in for a treat. Okay. All right. So Jeff ended up telling us about how that famously he had a whole idea for Survivor 41 that was based on a economy of fire tokens, and ultimately that idea got scrapped. And Jeff recently on the On Fire with Jeff Probst, the official Survivor podcast, explained what that would look like.
The official Survivor podcast.
We're in
Flirting
deep,
with fire.
so deep, Brittany, that the place you would do all of your Survivor shopping was going to be called the Trading Post.
Okay.
And so this is where you would show up and you would have your 5 fire tokens and you would want to buy something. And so you'd walk up to the Trading Post and you'd hear a voice saying, "What can I do you for?" And the voice would turn around and it was going to be Rick Devens.
Does he know this?
Oh, Rick Devens.
I never even asked him, but that was in my head was, what if Rick Devens came out and became the shop owner? He's so funny. It would be so fun that he knows the game. But today, I'm just selling advantages and you don't have enough tokens, partner. You know, that kind of thing.
Now, very sadly, Mary, Mike White said to Jeff, "Is it fun?" Oh, no, when you say it like that, that sounds pretty fun.
This is just Survivor Oregon Trail. What are we doing? What are we doing?
Okay, so I have a voicemail about this. This comes to us from one of our listeners. Here's Jared.
Hey, Rob and Mary, this is Jared from Seattle. Now, I'm sure you guys have been following the official Survivor podcast this season.
Yes.
On Fire with Jeff Probst. And, this week they talked about what their original plan was for season 41 before COVID happened. And they talked about how it was meant to be an economy-based game where you have to buy literally everything, and how Jeff had this very grand novel-esque narrative planned out about transitioning from 40 to the dawn of a new era, and how Rick Devens was meant to be like the shopkeeper in charge of everything there.
Yep.
It sounds bonkers, but then I had the thought, like, wait a minute, is this that much crazier than what our current Survivor timeline is? So what do you guys think is better? The very complex economy-based game that they originally had planned, or our current Survivor timeline where there's a trillion idols, a trillion crazy advantages, and something game-breaking happens seemingly every round? Love to hear your guys' thoughts. Thanks.
Rob, have you and your kids
played
a lot of Mario Party?
Yes.
So in Mario Party, how you go around the board and you collect the stars or whatever, and the coins.
Buy
and then
stuff from the
you can go buy
shopkeeper.
stuff from the shopkeeper. That's what this is.
Hey, Rick, how many fire tokens for some salty potato chips?
So what would happen if in this theoretical version of Survivor, somebody got swapped but left all their fire tokens at home? Would they get them?
Up for grabs. Sorry for you.
Do you think in that economy-based game that we would have also seen like the shot in the dark? Are we getting both? Can
I
you
don't
buy a
know.
shot in the dark? Can
I
you
don't know.
use one
Well,
and buy another one?
so Jeff tells that story and then talks about how he talked to Mike White, and Mike White said, "Yeah, but is it fun?" famously, and then he ripped up the whole thing. And now he can laugh about it. But the thing that is, I think, is, you know, a little bit of, I feel like, there's maybe not cognitive dissonance of that. Jeff can like anecdotally tell a story about, oh my god, listen to this. This was a horrible idea. This is so horrible. This is terrible. But he was like very far down the road of getting this idea to be the thing of the season. And had it not been for a global pandemic, this presumably would have gone to air. But there's almost no like introspection that says like, wait, is this current idea bad? And we are dead set in no, this is great. The same person came up with an idea that can we all laugh about how terrible that is? But these other ideas are infallible.
I don't usually go looking for spoilers, but I remember at one point being shown 2 Reddit posts that were talking about twists that were coming up in Survivor. One was Ghost Island.
Yep.
And one was Edge of Extinction. Now, confusingly, they called the Edge of Extinction twist Ghost Island in that Reddit post that I had read. But those two
probably better
ideas,
name.
The 2 ideas where they're going to have an island that you go to that they've got idols and things that now have extra powers or whatever from past seasons, and one where you get voted off and then you go off to the side and you could potentially rejoin the game. I remember reading those both thinking, what funny fan fiction people are coming up with. That'll never happen. So I know Jeff is saying it now, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see fire tokens again at some point and that this comes back. The last time we had Jeff say a story like this, he was talking about the Cajun grandma who was going to be singing the Winners at War song. So if we had this, just because Jeff is saying that the voice of Rick Devens was going to be there, who do you think we would have actually gotten?
Oh, they couldn't get Rick Devens, or would change his mind?
I'm just saying, like what Jeff is cooking
Probably
up
Cochran,
is not always what ends up coming out.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think it's funny, just like that. Like this wasn't that long ago. This wasn't like, hey, can I tell you? Like, here's a crazy story that happened to me. This is like, hey, this is like a very bad idea I had very recently. That was almost the show if had not been for a pandemic.
We've all been there, though.
Wild.
You know,
it's wild. Okay. I think that maybe the punchline of the story is that like, oh, it was, well, I don't know. How far down the road did he get with, because Survivor 41 was about to film. So it's sort of like the story I feel like is kind of like, hey, like we were all quarantined and I was cooped up in my house and like I was losing it. But I do feel like that Survivor 41 was supposed to film in March of 2020. So I don't know how far down the road of like quarantine cabin fever we got.
Imagine being Rick Devens and hearing that and thinking, shoot,
upset.
I almost had a job.
He was bummed out. Yeah. Okay. Mary, let me give you this question that came in from the chat from Sarah Miller, who wants to know, Paramount Productions will have a new Transformers movie next year. Should someone go on 45 and 46 and relate the game to being a Transformer?
Let me just take a little note to add that to my
Do you think they'll cast
tape?
like a mechanic or somebody's like as somebody who works with cars?
But see, is that enough? Because that's what I'm saying about Kane is he's not just saying as someone who's into nerdy stuff or who likes board games. He's specifically
so they need a
going
Transformers super fan. They need like, hey, I love Transformers, as Optimus Prime might say.
They need to make whatever the immunity idol is next season. Instead of it being a sword, it needs to be some sort of like helm or something that they could put on and be like, oh, watch me transform. Now I'm a car. Va va voom, you know?
Yes. Okay. All right. Can you give us the names for a Survivor season that is going to be themed with to be all about Transformers.
Survivor. Transform your vote.
Okay.
Survivor.
All right. How about you like Survivor Autobot Alliance?
It's pretty good.
Survivor Rise of the Robots. I feel like that is already wasn't it already one of the Transformers movies?
Yeah.
Survivor Age of Extinction.
Is that a Transformers thing?
I don't know. Survivor Matrix of Leadership.
And they're losing me.
Okay, Survivor Idols in Disguise. That's pretty good. All right, Mary. And then I got one last thing to share with you today on the feedback show. And this is a fun one. And let me see if I can bring this up. Okay. So this was something that was sent out on the Survivor Instagram page, and it involves a Survivor alumni giving some dating advice.
Love it.
Okay. All right. Let me see. And let me, it's an Instagram post, so it's going to autoplay, but I don't want to miss anything. So let me see if I can do this real quick on the fly. And
breaks down relationship dynamics in season 44.
Okay. A life coach breaks down relationship dynamics in season 44. Okay. Are you able to know? Do you know who the life coach is?
A life coach from Survivor?
Yeah. Is going to break down relationship dynamics in season 44.
I can't think of who the life coach could be.
Well,
when I think life coach, I just think Caitlin.
Nope, not Caitlin. Okay, here we go.
I would recommend watching Survivor because, for one thing,
it's Lisa Welchel.
It's Lisa Welchel. Yay!
Did you know she's a life coach, a Facts of Life coach?
Yeah, I didn't know that. She was like a motivational speaker or something at the time. Okay, cool.
Okay. Well, Lisa, I know that you're a life coach now. You're not coach, but you're a life coach. All right. I guess you take the good, you take the bad, and you take them both, and there you have a life coach, apparently. Okay. All right. Here's what Lisa Welchel has to say about Matt and Franny.
you learn a lot about the interpersonal relationships, how they're put together and how they tick and how they show up.
She is really cute. She's got a really funny laugh.
I would say they're not wearing their hearts on their sleeves. They're wearing their hearts on their face.
We got to stop hanging.
All right. Well, that's a good observation.
Wear your heart on your face. Yeah.
Wear your heart.
Yeah.
Yes. Would you recommend that as for somebody who's watched so many people fall in love on Love is Blind? Should you wear your heart on your face?
I mean, you can wear your heart on your face all you want in Love is Blind. They won't see it. So,
okay.
yeah.
I like that she's wearing headphones because she's like monitoring the Matt and Franny relationship. This is some good insight. Okay.
Hanging out so much. Like, if everyone knows how close we are, that's really bad for our game.
That ship has sailed.
Survivor is a game.
Now, she played with Pete and Abby, okay?
Yeah. Yeah. So she knows. She knows.
She's seen it all.
I don't know that it's possible to like if you want to hide it, you just can't. You can't be near each other in the shelter. Just like don't even separate.
Yep. It's impossible. The heart wants what the heart wants, and especially when you wear your heart on your face.
Leave room for the rest of the tribe in between you.
Okay.
All right.
Mrs. Garrett would have not appreciated this. Sorry, I couldn't know myself. Okay, all right.
Game about relationships. And right now, my blind spot is Franny, because I really like her a lot.
I don't not have a crush on Matt. One of the things I think we can learn from their communication style is take chances. Go ahead and be yourself. Like Matt and Franny, I dare you to be vulnerable.
A lot.
Well, that wife didn't learn anything.
We learned that they wear their heart on their face and that the Blankenship has sailed and to dare to be vulnerable.
Dare to be vulnerable.
Yeah. I think those are great tips for love and not great tips for winning Survivor.
By the way, love this comment here from our friend Owen Knight. He said, not to be dramatic, but I'd die for Manny. He's wearing his heart on his face right now.
Okay, well, if we're gonna take
Die for Mary.
if we're gonna take actual advice from this, I do think wearing your heart on your face is good for alliances, though.
Yes.
Show them that you're in. Show them that you're all in.
Well, I do feel like that is a theme of the season of like, you know who else wears their heart on their face? Carolyn and Jam Jam. And so like, I feel like that a lot of the players who are doing well this season are wearing their heart on their face.
Yeah, I mean, Kane wears his D&D on his face, which allowed Carson to bond with him.
And he wore the PB&J on his face too when he was a sloppy Sasquatch. Yeah. Jam Jam, is your heart on your face? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, boy. All right. So thank you to Lisa Welchel. Hopefully we'll be able to get more commentary from her the rest of the season. But it's so weird that, again, that they don't build this as season 25's Lisa Welchel. They just refer to her as a random life coach.
Well, it was for the fun little surprise.
Do you think
it's because if they put like Survivor Zone Lisa Welchel, everyone would be like, who's that?
They do. Let me see. They do give her a lower third.
Life coach breaks down relationship dynamics in season 44.
I would recommend watching.
So
Lisa Welchel,
Lisa Welchel, former Survivor castaway.
Okay.
But is Lisa Welchel really a life coach?
Very nondescript.
Could I get Lisa Welchel to give me life coaching advice? Is this a commercial for Lisa Welchel's life coaching business? Can we get her on Talking with T-Bird? I think that T-Bird has really gone out to Lisa Welchel, and I think that she has I'm not sure how hard of a pass it's been, but I do believe it was a pass.
Well, maybe she should ask, instead of asking about her to come on to talk about her time on Survivor, ask her to come on and talk about her life coaching.
Maybe. Well, listen, we work on it. The T-Bird tries every single angle. So apparently Lisa Welchel does have a life coaching business, which I don't really know the reference, but we have Contigo Life Coach, a safe, fun, and life-changing way to discover who you are and why you're here. Email Lisa for more information. So she is a life coach. Who am I? Show the answer. Okay. Do you often put people's needs over your own? I think Chappelle says she's very into Enneagrams. I don't know if that's what this is about.
Is there an About Us section? I want to see if Lisa says in the About Us that she was on Survivor.
Oh, hold on. Here's some I don't know if this is from Matt and Franny. Here's some testimonials from January 5th, 2017. Lisa makes me feel like I've had a DNA test and received unexpected results. I'm not the person I thought I was. I'm better.
Oh, okay. That could have been a
You
negative.
are not the person you thought you were. Why? I've never seen a testimonial on like a Post-it.
Well, I think it's to show that it's legit, right? It's not just random text.
It's not from ChatGPT. Yes. Okay. So you want to see an about section about Lisa Welchel?
Yeah, I'm just curious if maybe she's shunning the whole like Survivor thing.
It's very shunned. It's very shunned about Lisa. Lisa has lived. Oh no, she's not shunning. Lisa has lived at least as many lives as a cat in some 50 some odd years. You may know Lisa Welchel best from playing Blair in the 80s television show The Facts of Life, or perhaps from her 39 excruciating days on CBS's show Survivor in 2011. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not great.
But
she's mentioning it.
Okay.
Interesting.
So, boy, Lisa Welchel, a life coach.
Wow. Who knew?
Yes. All right. Mary, anything else you want to say about Survivor 44? This was so fun tonight.
It was fun. And I think that's let's balance it out, right?
Yes.
We're gonna watch the show and immediately think of all the things that could be better. But think about what's there. Think about what we're getting. You know,
Look,
if we didn't have these twists, we wouldn't have sloppy Sasquatch.
Mary, this is Survivor is like real life, okay? That you could look around and find problems everywhere you look, and you could be very freaking mad about a lot of things. You really could. But you live that way all the time, and it's a recipe for disaster. And you don't have to take Lisa Welch's word for it.
Yeah, you don't. But you do what you do. You just have to say, like with the facts of life, in Survivor, you have to take the good and take the bad.
Yeah, take the both. There you have. So Mary, there's one other clip from this episode that I didn't get to play that I loved so much.
May I offer you a papaya in these trying times?
And it's the words of Matt Blankenship that we should remember. May I offer you a papaya in these trying times? It's in these trying times that really gets me.
As if Jeff is also in some trying times, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We all are. All right, Mary. Of course, tomorrow night you will be back with the long-awaited reaction to the Love Is Blind reunion show.
Yeah. I have so much to talk about, and only like 50% of that has to do with Vanessa Lachey. So just get ready.
Okay, get ready. What else is coming up for you, Mary?
Coming up for me is this week we'll have episode 4 of the final season of Riverdale coming out.
I was going to ask you which show that you cover has had wilder twists, Survivor or Riverdale?
In Riverdale, we're now in the 1950s.
Okay.
We spent so much time getting to present day, aging up the characters, doing time jumps so that the actors and characters will be the same age, and now they're juniors in high school again. Have you ever seen that? Have you ever had a show that says, not just for an episode, but for a whole season, we are now reversing time to the characters are now younger?
Does Lost count?
Tricky. Anyway, but it's great. I just love it. So I'm having a great time because I decided long ago, like with Survivor, you just have to kind of just sit there and watch Riverdale and take in what it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, I think that, Mary, that was good practice for Survivor in its current era.
Yeah, it really was. Riverdale has taught me how to love Survivor.
Yes. Well, I do have a fun podcast coming up later on tonight. I'm going to be joined by Shannon Gus and one of my Survivor heroes, Australian Survivor George. We're going to do a catch up and to get to podcast with George for the very first time.
Cool.
So I'm very excited about that. That's coming up tonight. Plus, over the weekend, had a very fun episode of Nothing But Netflix. Mary, have you heard about the show Beef? I know you have a cow in your photo behind you.
I have heard of it. I haven't watched it yet, but
it's wild show. It was a wild show. I will not soon forget it. Had great people to talk about it with in Chappelle and our guest this week, Sasha Joseph. So check that out on Nothing But Netflix. And of course, check out the rest of our Survivor coverage and my burning question for this week. And then on Wednesday night, I'll be back with Stephen Fishback to go into everything this week. Jamal Shipman will join me on Thursday for this week's Survivor recap. So make sure you subscribe to everything we're doing over on RHAP. All of our podcast subscriptions links are available at robbinswebsite.com/subscribe. Thank you so much for joining us. Take care, everybody. Have a good one. Bye.